This is Ask an Expat with Marcus and Matt from an Expats Russia, where we answer your questions about what it's like to live, work, and travel in Russia. Hey everyone, in this video we're going to talk about everyone's favorite topic, taxes, specifically income tax in Russia. Matt, tell us what the income tax in Russia is.
Sure. For many people, it might be a surprise, but in Russia, there's actually a flat income tax rate of 13%. It's very different than the US or Europe, which most countries there have progressive tax rates. So the more you make, the more tax you pay. Russia actually has one of the lowest income tax rates in the entire world. There are a few countries that have a 0% income tax. The United Arab Emirates, for example, has no income tax. So obviously it doesn't compare to that, but if we're looking at Russia as a country on the global scale from an income tax perspective, it's very attractive. Combined with relatively high expat salaries, lots of people can save quite a bit of money living and working in Russia. But there are a lot of kind of nuances, right? Because if you're self-employed in Russia, the tax obligations can be very, very different depending on the type of visa you're on or whether you're a Russian citizen. It's 13% for Russian citizens and for expats. But employers pay a lot of, it's not called income tax, right? Maybe social taxes, or I'm not sure how we want to call it.
Right, pension fund, medical funds.
Right. Those are typically always paid by the employer, whereas if you're self-employed, those become your obligation in Russia. And those social taxes and the pension funds contributions, those can add up to almost 30%.
Right. There is one thing that I would note on the income tax for foreigners who are going to Russia, and once you become a tax resident, you live 183 days in Russia, the income tax is 13%. But up to that point, actually you have to pay
That's a great point.
30%. You pay 30%. But a lot of expats don't even know this who have been to Russia. After that, after they become a tax resident, after 183 days, you can reclaim the 17% difference. So, for people who are coming and going and are never tax residents, it's technically 30%. But for the majority, it's
the same for
still
Russian
13.
Citizens. Same for Russian citizens too. If you're a non-tax resident under Russian law, and the main determination of that is how long you spend in Russia. As long as you're in Russia for more than 6 months out of a calendar year, I believe, or is it a 365-day period?
Yeah, it's a 12-month period.
Okay, so exactly, you have to make sure that you're a tax resident in Russia to take advantage of that. Otherwise, the income tax rate is quite high, especially if you're self-employed, non-tax resident of Russia, but paying tax in Russia. I mean, you can end up paying 65% tax. Whereas there is one exception to what you mentioned, where you don't have to wait 6 months. If you become a highly qualified specialist, one of the conditions of that visa, it's a special work visa, is that you immediately become a tax resident from day one. So you pay only 13%. And there's another advantage to that visa, that you do not have to, your employer doesn't have to make the social tax contributions or the pension fund contributions on your behalf. So
right. So
very, very
ideally, if you're going to Russia to start a business, you would, get the highly qualified specialist visa in your own business. You would pay the least amount of income tax, as well as your business paying practically zero in contribution. But if you're just, working for a Russian company, you'll be paying 13%. You don't see any change whether you have the highly qualified specialist visa or you're a tax resident with any other work visa.
Right. I think to sum up, if you're a worker in Russia, you're not going to, almost everybody's going to be paying 13% if you're in Russia and working legally with a work visa or a highly qualified specialist. If you just started and you're on a regular work visa, you're going to have to reclaim that money, but your employer will help you do that. But as I said in the very beginning of this video, employers take it, all of the obligation for those other taxes is on them. Whereas in the United States, a lot of that burden is split between the employer and the employee.
Right. So that's about the flat income tax in Russia. If you have any questions or What are the income taxes in your countries? Comment below.
All right. See you in the next video. This was Ask an Expat with Marcus and Matt from an Expats Russia. We hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have a question about Russia, let us know in the comments. We'll answer it in another video.